Revelers, this is Off the Rails, Right versus Left, the podcast that we do because we think the left is evil. I'm Rob B.
And I'm Brad Lee.
And I'm Brian G.
And we are Off the rails, right versus left. Again, we're doing this show because we think everybody needs to know that the left is evil. Welcome, revelers. I'm Rob B, and this is Off the Rails, Right versus Left. Unfortunately, I'm solo. Don't really know what happened to Brad, but Brian, as usual, is off doing his thing. He's traveling right now, so not likely to be able to get on. But I am currently sending him an invite, so hopefully he'll be able to jump on. But the first thing that I have to say, I am the type of person that likes to, admit when I'm wrong. After the Democrat or the Republican National Convention and the announcement that J.D. Vance was going to be the vice presidential nominee, I wasn't convinced. I never really liked the guy. I thought he came across as another never Trumper that didn't really know what he was talking about. And again, not that I've voted for Trump before. I'm kind of on the fence this year. Whether I'm going to, I don't know. I may be voting for my party's candidate because I'm a libertarian. I know he doesn't really actually have a chance of winning the election, but I still think that it is important to continue trying to get a third-party candidate in. Now, that being said, I was surprised. The debate last night, I'd say J.D. Vance was probably he probably did a better job articulating the position of Republicans, particularly the MAGA movement, than anybody has up to this point, including Trump. I also am going to talk a little bit about the hypocrisy that the United States is showing when it comes to Israel and how the rest of the world handles terrorism versus how Israel's expected to. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about Second Amendment, and particularly how it applies to this, which is an AR style gun. And I say AR style because there's no such thing as an assault weapon. There's no such thing as weapons of war in the hands of the public. Well, there kind of is. But according to the Second Amendment, it really doesn't matter what the weapon is. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So first off, I do want to cover like some clips here from the debate because, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. So let's see here. First clip.
Kamala Harris has a record 250,000 more manufacturing jobs just out of the IRA.
May I respond to that?
Yes.
So appreciate that. So if you notice what Governor Walz just did is he said, first of all, Donald Trump has to listen to the experts. And then when he acknowledged that the experts screwed up, he said, well, Donald Trump didn't do nearly as good of a job as the statistics that he did. So what Tim Walz is doing, and I honestly, Tim, I think you got a tough job here because you've got to play whack-a-mole. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver rising take-home pay, which of course he did. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver lower inflation, which of course he did, and then you simultaneously got to defend Kamala Harris's atrocious economic record, which has made gas, groceries, and housing unaffordable for American citizens. I was raised by a woman who would sometimes go into medical debt so that she could put food on the table in our household. I know what it's like to not be able to afford the things that you need to afford. We can do so much better. To all of you watching, we can get back to an America that's affordable again. We just got to get back to common sense economic principles.
I hope we have a conversation on health care then.
Senator, Governor.
Please.
Thank you. Margaret?
So I love that. He did a great job. He completely explained exactly why. Trump's record matters and why Kamala Harris's record matters. Of course, we all kind of knew, being it was going to be on a mainstream network, that the moderators, no matter what they said, were going to try and put their fingers on the scale. And of course, they claimed that they weren't going to be fact checking. Well, how'd that work out? Well, I think we all knew what was going to happen.
Just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank you,
Margaret. The rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP One app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own
Thank you, Senator, for
leadership.
Describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The CBP One app has not been on the books since 1990.
Okay, so they did actually mute the mic there to cut him off. What Tim Walz was saying there is that the laws have been on the books since the 1990s. Asylum laws have been on the books since 1990s. None of these people from Haiti qualify for asylum. The fact that your country is a dump does not mean you're automatically granted asylum. Asylum is if you're subject to political persecution. They also have to be vetted. There's a process to claim asylum here. And it's not that you take a shortcut and get a magic wand waved over you, which is what Vance was saying. So he did a great job on that as well. And again, that's the position of Republicans is the fact that, you know, Republicans are for immigration, but we're for immigration for people that do it right. But taking in people from countries that are undeniably, they speak a different language, they have a different culture, they have different religions, and it's basically ran by gangs. So we don't know if the people trying to come here are from the gangs or if they're good people, especially when there is no vetting. There is no central government for any real intents and purposes in Haiti, so there's no way for us to vet these people. And if you can't vet them, you can't take them, period. That's the law. Kamala Harris deciding that she's going to skirt the law does not make that legal migration. So he made a great point there. So, yeah, so here's another clip for JD making the excellent points. Yeah, I mean, he did a wonderful job, and I'm really, really impressed. I was not supportive of the pick, but it's looking like it was a pretty good pick.
So we've got 25 million illegal aliens who are here in the country. What do we do with them? I think the first thing that we do is we start with the criminal migrants. About 1 million of those people have committed some form of crime in addition to crossing the border illegally. I think you start with deportations on.
Now, that being said, I'm going to pause it right here for a second. The day after the presidential debate, you know, you did get an update from the government saying that there are 425,000 people that were allowed into the country that committed crimes in their home countries. And 13,000 of those were murders and 15,000 of them were rapes. So that's 28,000 murderers and rapists that were allowed into the country. And who knows what the other 380,000 crimes were. But if you are a convicted criminal, you are not supposed to be allowed into the country at all. That is the law on the books. So when you hear Democrats talk about the law that they attempted to pass, first it would have codified 1.8 million people a year being brought into the country. So if you extend that out, that's like another 8 million people or 7.5 million people during a 4-year presidential term coming in. And of course, illegally, because they aren't legally allowed to be here. And it's not making sure that we're getting people that aren't criminals. And, you know, we do know that like all these places in Central and Latin America suddenly have dropping crime rates because they're emptying their jails and saying, get out of the country, go to the US. If you come back, you're not going to survive. And so that's what's happening.
Those folks. And then I think you make it harder for illegal aliens to undercut the wages of American workers. A lot of people will go home.
It is illegal to employ an illegal alien, so there should 100% be a law that makes it impossible for people to hire people that aren't legally in the country. That's a given. It should not be allowed. And we've got to stop allowing it.
If they can't work for less than minimum wage in our own country. And by the way, that'll be really good for our workers who just want to earn a fair wage for doing a good day's work. And the final point, Margaret, is you asked about family separation. Right now in this country, Margaret, we have 320,000 children that the Department of Homeland Security has effectively lost. Some of them have been sex trafficked. Some of them hopefully are at homes with their families. Some of them have been used as drug trafficking mules. The real family separation policy in this country is unfortunately Kamala Harris's wide open southern border. And I'd ask my fellow Americans to remember when she came into office, she said she was going to do this. Real leadership would be saying, you know what, I screwed up. We're going to go back to Donald Trump's border policies. I wish that she would do that. It would be good for all of us.
Okay, and I want to add something else to this, okay? The separation of minors from their families, okay? Guess what? There are a whole lot of children that are separated from their families that were J6ers. You don't hear the Democrats complain about that. If they throw anybody in jail, their kids are going to be separated from them. If you commit a crime in this country and you go to jail, you are by definition going to be separated from your family. That's not horrible. That's not a crime against humanity. It's what happens when you commit a crime. You're going to be separated from your family. So it's kind of ridiculous to act like, you know, there's a problem with separating a criminal from their kids, because that's just how it happens. When you commit a crime, that is one of the risks you take, that you go to jail and then you end up separated with your kids. Anyway, overall, I thought Vance did a great job. I mean, I thought Waltz looked like a bumbling idiot on my X count. I put up a very good picture of Bugs Bunny versus Elmer Fudd because that's kind of what it looked like. I would love if somebody that could actually do animation would actually make that cartoon of it being Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd debating, because that's exactly what it looked like. So I was wrong. I thought he was a hothead. I thought he just like talked without getting facts. And I have to say that I think he did a wonderful job. He really was good. He really did speak to the conservative ideals and what the MAGA movement is all about. And let's see here. Wow. Is my camera messing up? I hope not. Okay. Yeah, that does look like it's my camera messing up. Let's see if I can fix this. Maybe I'll switch to the other camera. It'll give a little bit weirder angle, but if the camera's working better, then so be it. Let's see. Switch to this camera. Is this camera working better? Okay. So we'll do that. All right. Okay. And of course, I got my horrible like pile of empty Coke boxes back there, so it looks horrible. I didn't really have a choice here. Like, I don't know what's going on with the camera, and I don't have anybody working for me that can go back there and fix the camera while I'm doing the broadcast. So, is what it is. All right. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about was, of course, Israel and hypocrisy involving Israel. Okay. Since 1948, they have been, and I've talked about this a lot, they have been constantly under attack by terrorists. Okay? These are terrorists. These aren't freedom fighters. They're not revolutionaries. None of that. Okay? They were given their own territory. They could have just run it, and with all the money going into them, they could have been Abu Dhabi. They could have been the greatest city in the Middle East. Instead, they put all of their money into terrorism because the only thing that they care about is killing Jews. Okay? Now, we experienced one terrorist attack that took out 2,000 people, and we destroyed 2 countries completely. Okay? Now, these people continue to target their civilians, their children. The ultimate goal of wiping them out was laid bare on October 7th. Since October 7th, Israel has the right to go after every terroristic organization that wants to target them, because if it happened to the U.S., we would be going after those people. We would be taking them out. Okay? The rate of civilian deaths that Israel is executing is far lower than anything that we executed in Iraq or in Afghanistan. And it was definitely far less deadly than what we did in World War II, where we flattened entire cities, completely flattened them. Citizens be damned, because guess what? Citizens that produce food and weapons for the military are part of the military complex. Okay? So we just flattened the entire industrial cities. Gone. Okay? The idea that they don't have a right to do whatever they need to do is ridiculous. And if Israel goes in a couple days and they completely wipe out the nuclear reactors in Iran, they deserve it. If they completely take out Iran's leadership, they deserve it. If they completely take out all of Iran's military capacity, they completely deserve it. Because Iran has done nothing but fuel terrorism, not just in the Middle East, but around the world, including here, for the last 50 years. Okay? Ever since the violent revolution overthrew the existing government in Iran, they've been sponsoring terrorism. Okay? And right now, the people are sorry about that. Right now, they are oppressing their own people. They're trying to eliminate another people. So whatever Iran gets, they've got coming, because they are doing nothing but creating problems all over the world. We need to stop appeasing evil people. It didn't work when it was Hitler, and it won't work with this guy. The Ayatollah Khomeini, he is worse than Hitler. He says flat out to the whole world he wants to kill every single Jew. And for some reason, the West goes, oh, he doesn't really mean that. Yeah, he does mean it, and his actions show it. He keeps trying to surround Israel with people that want to kill every Jew. Okay? They are Nazis. The Democrats supporting them are Nazis. Okay? If you say something like supporting Hamas or supporting Hezbollah, you're a freaking Nazi. Okay? Not Donald Trump. You. Because the number one goal of the Nazis was to annihilate the Jews, and that's the number one goal of Hezbollah, the PLO, Islamic Jihad, Iran, and Lebanon, where Hezbollah is. That's a country that's held in captivity. The reason Lebanon is not part of Syria is because they're a Christian, and the Muslims kept attacking the Christians. So when the French did their part of the partition after World War II, they set up Lebanon as a Christian nation. The Palestinians that got kicked out of Jordan and then kicked out of Syria ended up getting into Lebanon, and Lebanon didn't kick them out. And now you've got an apartheid there where this minority Muslim population is suppressing and ruling the Christians. You hear a lot about apartheid governments in the Middle East. The apartheid government in the Middle East is in Syria, where the minority there is cracking down and brutally ruling over them. You got the minority in Lebanon cracking down and brutally ruling them. Yet they say Israel has an apartheid government. Well, in Israel, everybody has the same rights, whether you're a Jew, a Muslim, or Christian. They don't care. Everybody gets the same rights. Until you do something wrong, you get the same rights. Now, if you go and help these countries, you go to prison, period. Now, Hamas and Hezbollah say, oh, these are political prisoners. They're not political prisoners. These people are terrorists, period. But these are the ones that they always want back in exchange for hostages. So I don't blame Israel for not acquiescing to what Hamas wants, because that would be a really bad idea. Just continue to set the precedence that Israel's going to capitulate as long as you hold out. So Israel needs to keep going until there's not a single member of Hamas or anyone who even says they like Hamas. They should, you know what, quiz people. Do you support Hamas? You do? Okay. You're a prisoner of war now. The end. Because these organizations want only one thing: genocide. So if you support a genocidal government, you're committing genocide. Okay. So the last thing I wanted to talk about. Second Amendment. Okay. The text of the Second Amendment does not spell out Americans' rights to keep and bear arms. Okay. You hear that a lot. The Second Amendment right to bear arms. There is no Second Amendment right to bear arms. You hear gun control advocates say that the Constitution, the Second Amendment, doesn't guarantee you a right to bear arms. That's correct. It does not. The Constitution says that the government may make no law infringing on the people's ability to keep and bear arms. Okay? And then, like, my buddy came over and we had like a little gaming session. But before that, we had a conversation because I showed him my new pew pew. All right. This is the new pew pew. Okay. Looks big and scary. Okay. But it's not. It's just a rifle like any other. Okay. If it didn't have a pistol grip here, it would have a little butt that you can hold here and pull the trigger. Now, I have no mag. I already cleared this out, so I'm not being unsafe here. I'm also pointing in the direction that there's nobody. Okay. That's gun safety. So anyways, and then also I have the safety on. Okay. So this rifle, if I pull the trigger once, one bullet comes out. And if I want another bullet to come out, I have to pull the trigger again. And I want another bullet, I have to pull the trigger again. But what the Democrats are trying to do is make it sound like guns like this are machine guns. Okay. This isn't a machine gun. Okay. This here that looks all big and scary, all that is space for you to hold it because the barrel gets hot. Okay. This is a modified hunting rifle. AR just stands for Armalite rifle. This isn't made by Armalite, so it's not an Armalite rifle. So it's not an AR. This is an MHR, modern hunting rifle. That's it. It can take 5.56 ammo or 2.23 ammo. That's it. As far as the hole it makes, the bullet's moving really, really fast. But it's not going to make a bigger hole. Now, if you put a hollow point in it, hollow points expand, not to do more damage, but so they don't over penetrate, go through what you're shooting at, and hit somebody behind it. Okay? But if you have regular rounds in it, it's just going to punch a hole in it. So you could call this a cordless hole punch. Right there, cordless hole puncher. Okay? That's it. Now, people talk about magazines. How many magazines can you have? Or how many bullets can you have? Well, this is my magazine. Okay? It's not very big. Okay? It only holds 30 rounds. Now, why would I need 30 rounds? If I'm under attack by 10 people and they each have a 10-round clip, they can fire 100 bullets at me. And while I'm being shot at, I may not be that accurate in my return fire, so I might need 30 rounds. Or maybe I need 60. Now, what's the government got to say about it? Nothing. Why? Because the Second Amendment says no matter what the government thinks, they may not make any law restricting my right to keep and bear arms. It doesn't grant me the right to keep and bear arms. It grants me the right to keep it from being restricted. Now, when they call them weapons of war or they call them assault rifles, what they're trying to do is make you think that it's a machine gun. That is not a machine gun. That gun cannot shoot any faster than I can pull the trigger. Okay? One trigger, one bullet. That's how it works. Okay? But even if it was a machine gun, it could still be completely legal. Okay? You know what they did? They said you can't manufacture them for consumers anymore. So if you want to own a machine gun, then I have to go and get a tax stamp for $200 for that gun. So all it is it's an extra stamp. Now, by limiting the production of them for civilians, what it did is it made machine guns really rare, because now you can only buy machine guns that were made before 1986. So what they do? Well, they made sure that people like you or me can't afford to spend $30 or $40,000 for a machine gun, so we can't have one. Meanwhile, they can have them just fine. Okay? But this is not a weapon of war. It's a hunting rifle. Okay? It happens to use the same as machine guns that they use in war. It uses the same round. But this gun would never be used in war. It's not used in war. Every police department in the country has these in case they need to take a longer shot. This has better distance than a pistol, but guess what? You can't walk up to a deer and shoot it with a pistol. You're never going to get close enough. So it's not a weapon of war. It's just a gun. One trigger, one bullet. Okay? And even if it was a weapon of war, the point of the Second Amendment was to make sure if our government were to go tyrannical and start taking away our rights, then we'd have something that we can use to fight back. Now, what rights could be possibly taken away? Well, let's see here. So we're going to go to the Bill of Rights here. The First Amendment. No law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, abridging freedoms of speech or the press. Okay. Well, they've already said that they should be able to take people like me offline, and they're working with public companies to have them do it, which means they are infringing on it, which the Supreme Court's already ruled that you can't do anything through a private company that you can't do yourself. Okay. So let's see here. And they can completely keep saying they think they should be able to ban what they call hate speech. Who defines hate speech? What they call disinformation, but who decides what disinformation is? All through the pandemic, the government was lying. They were wrong a lot. They were producing misinformation, and our government puts out more propaganda than anybody. Our government is the number one distributor of misinformation in the world. And that's just a fact. Sorry, guys. Give me just a second. I'm having a little issue here with my stream, as usual. I don't know why. It keeps doing this. All right, for my Rumble people, I'm going to have to upload the video later because for some reason the stream didn't start on Rumble. That's wonderful. Anyway, I don't know. So but I mean, what it really breaks down to is, you know, these people are insane. Number two, everybody needs to have, so a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So here's what that means. We did not have a standing army in this country. Okay? We were never supposed to. If we didn't, we probably wouldn't be paying $1 trillion a year for a government that keeps losing $1 trillion every 5 years. Anyway, In the event that every man, woman, and child needs to fight, and they need to be able to throw together a rail-regulated militia, all of a sudden, every single person is supposed to be able to have a gun. Okay? And in the event that the government becomes tyrannical, every single person is supposed to be able to have a gun. We're supposed to be securing a free state, not just national defense, but securing the freedom of that state. There's not supposed to be any bans on that. They've already done it. The National Firearms Act is a violation of the Second Amendment. I don't care what court it says it's not. There is no limiting principle here when it says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That means you can't reduce it, you can't restrict it, you can't make it harder, and the NFA does that. Now, I can own almost any weapon if I want to pay enough money to. So what it really means is, you poor little Americans, you don't get to defend yourself, but the rich people can. Okay? So the third is no quartering people in the house without the consent of the owner. Okay, that's not happening, but they're kind of pushing people out of their houses for illegal immigrants. Okay, Amendment number 4, the right of the people to secure their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by an oath of formation and particularly describing the place to be searched and persons and things to be seized. Okay, we've got police all over the country that sit there and make up reasons for searching people. You've got the FISA courts that are working in secret to issue warrants without probable cause. And they're spying on people, including political campaigns. So they're violating that. So as far as holding people unless there's an indictment, they arrest people without an indictment all the time. Not supposed to. You're supposed to be indicted and a warrant issued. Doesn't happen, but okay. All criminal prosecutions, the accused shall control a right or shall enjoy a right to speedy and public trial. Public trial. Public trial. We just watched Donald Trump get a trial that they don't allow the public to see. And that's particularly of public interest. And most of these trials, you can't see what's going on. So it's not a public trial. So they violate that right all the time. Rights in civil cases. Okay, so if there's a jury trial, no court can overview that. Okay, in civil cases. Okay, you get appeals all the time. It says no court can review it, and yet you get appeals all the time on jury cases. Okay. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fine imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Okay. So $467 million isn't an excessive fine? I don't know. Sounds pretty excessive to me. People held without a trial for a long period of time. No speedy trial, so that was a violation up above. All right, so this is 8. Enumeration of the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. In other words, if the right's not listed in the Constitution, it's the right of the people. Powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively. Okay, so you've got the government trying to, or you got Kamala Harris and Joe Biden want to control the abortion debate. Well, guess what? Those powers aren't delegated by the Constitution to Congress. As a matter of fact, of the 5,000 government agencies we have, they were not delegated that power by the Constitution. They just keep doing it anyways. Okay? So of the first 10 amendments, which are called the Bill of the Rights, this administration and this government are in violation of 9 of them, which makes the second much more important. So that's all I got for today, guys. Thanks for joining me. I see I got a lot of viewers all over the place. I got you guys on Twitter and Twitch, and who knows on the ones that come up come through on my podcast. If you guys want to help me out, you can go to W Energy Drinks and use that promotion code, or you can go to warmongershop.store. I got some cool stuff on there, including the Trump Stand and Fight. Other than that, you guys have a great night. Thanks so much for joining me. Sorry the other guys couldn't be here, but I've been kind of sick, so I've been unreliable about when I was going to be doing a show. So hopefully we can get the whole team together again, or maybe I can get some other guests. But definitely appreciate you guys joining me today, and you have a great night.